Hey there, my name is Megan and welcome to my channel, or welcome back. Today I'm going to be discussing my February reading plans. I have 5 books that I want to get to in the month of February. I think 5 is a reasonable amount for me. I actually did read 5 books in the month of January, or I finished 5 books in the month of January. So I think it is doable. And there are a couple of books on here that I do that are part of a series, that are the last book of a series that I want to read, and the series will be completed, thank goodness. And then there are also some new releases on here that do come out in the month of February that I want to get to. But before we go ahead and get on into the TBR, if you are not already subscribed to my channel, please consider hitting that subscribe button, as well as giving this video a like to throw my channel a little bit of support. Also, if you have not yet checked out my book Aftermath, which is a sci-fi thriller with a 4.7 rating on Amazon, please go ahead and do that if that sounds like a genre that you would enjoy reading. All right, y'all, let's go ahead and get on into the books. I'm going to start with the book that I am currently reading, and that is The Rose Bargain by Sasha Payton Smith. This is the first book in a new YA series, and I have never read this author before, but I do know that she has other books published. This book does come out in February, and I'm currently on page 26. I think it's chapter 2, so we just started. But in this book, we are following an alternative historical London, and during the War of the Roses, this immortal magical queen ended up kind of ending the war and taking over England, and she has been ruling ever since. And we are currently in the mid-1800s, and we are following this main character who is coming out into society. Her name is Ivy, and she is the daughter of a marquis, and all debutantes are expected to go to the Fey Queen, the immortal queen, and make one bargain with her. And people are allowed to go, I think it's every Sunday or every other Sunday, to make a bargain with the Fairy Queen. And this is kind of expected. And a couple of years ago, Ivy's older sister, Lydia, went missing, and it was a big scandal, and she ended up showing up after being gone for a while, and she lied and said that she had tried to elope with someone below her station, but Ivy knows that this wasn't the case, and ever since her sister Lydia has returned, she has not been the same. She has locked herself in her room. So there's a lot going on in this book, and because of that scandal, Ivy's family and her family name has been pretty much tarnished. So she and her family are not really accepted in society. So I'm following Ivy as she is going to make her bargain with the queen, and we're going to see what that's about. And it is evident in this book that there is a fairy realm. Obviously, we have this magical queen, so there must be something, but it's basically looked down upon to research it or try and find it or learn anything about it, and Ivy is very interested in it. I'm not a huge fan of like historical reimaginings because like London is London. London can't be anything but London, but we are in London. I do like a good fairy story. I have not read one in a while. Also, this cover is quite stunning. So I'm excited to be reading this, and hopefully we'll be able to finish it soon. Then next I'm going to be picking up Dune Messiah by Frank Herbert. This is the second book in the Dune series. I actually was not planning on continuing this series after reading Dune. I have read Dune 2 times, and neither time did I fall in love with it like a lot of people did. I liked it for what it was, but nothing about the series really captivated me that much. However, my husband reread Dune when I reread Dune a couple of years ago, right before the movie came out, and he wanted to continue reading the series. So we're going to read Dune Messiah together, and compared to Dune, it's actually very short. It's less than 300 pages. I did get the audiobook for this from my library, so I will be audiobooking as well as physically reading this book. And if it's the same audiobook narrator as Dune, I'm trying to remember his name. He also narrated Brent Weeks' Lightbringer series. I really like him as a narrator, so I'm excited to get into the audiobook for this. But in Dune Messiah, we are following Paul Atreides as he is now the ruler of the Galactic Empire based on all the decisions and political machinations that happened at the end of Dune. And he is also seen as a religious leader to the Fremen who live on Arrakis. Because of Paul's ascension, he faces a lot of animosity from the noble houses in this galactic empire who definitely want to see him dethroned. And then there also is a conspiracy going on within his own sphere of influence, so Paul doesn't really know who he can trust. The only foundation that Paul basically has is Chani, his lover, but this sounds like a book that is definitely going to follow a lot of politics and political machinations in this world and people trying to usurp Paul because of how much power he's garnered. So it just sounds like a good continuation of where Dune left off, and I'm actually interested to see where the story goes. Next, I have two possible thriller books. The first one is The Hunting Party by Lucy Foley. I believe this was her first published work, and it's the only one of her books I think that I haven't read. And I put a hold on this book at my library, but I don't know if it's going to become available in the month of February, so I'm going to include it on my TBR, but I may not get to it. But The Hunting Party is a psychological whodunit type murder that takes place in this secluded cottage in Scotland. What starts off as a fun, easygoing type weekend quickly turns dark when old grudges, secrets, betrayals, all the nasty stuff comes to the surface between all of these friends. When a body of one of their friends is discovered, it is clear that one of them is a murderer. So all of these friends are having to live among a murderer in this secluded, snow-covered Scottish landscape, as well as trying to figure out who exactly killed their friend and why. The way that Lucy Foley writes her thriller books is that she has multiple perspectives, and all of the events that each one of these characters is going through contributes to the plot in some way, contributes to the death of this main character in some way, and there's always some like deep, dark secret reveal at the end, and I quite like her style of thriller writing, so I thought it would be a lot of fun to pick this book up. Now, if I don't get to The Hunting Party, I'm going to pick up The Meadowbrook Murders by Jessica Goodman. This is a YA thriller, and it's being released in February. In this book, we're following two main characters, Amy and Sarah. They go to this very prestigious boarding school known as Meadowbrook Academy. And one day, Sarah and her boyfriend are found brutally murdered, and Amy is the one who is being accused of killing them. Then we have a character named Liz, and she is the editor of the school newspaper, and she seems to be the only one that can help Amy clear her name. The two of them don't really like each other, don't really trust each other, but for whatever reason, Liz agrees to help Amy uncover who murdered her friend and her friend's boyfriend, as well as clear her own name. I've never read a Jessica Goodman book, so it'll be fun to see if I can get to this and see if she's a new author that I want to read more of. Next, we have Wrath by John Gwynne. This is book 4 in the Faithful and the Fallen Quartet, which is a adult high fantasy series, and I actually did start this book already. I have the audiobook for this, and I started listening to it. I think I only got through maybe 3 chapters, but at the end of book 3, at the end of Ruin, Corbin does get kidnapped. We do have Nathir kind of have a victory at the end of the 3rd book that throws a wrench in the plans of all of these different characters who are trying to resist him. So I don't want to say more without spoiling it, but obviously this is the last book in the series. This is where the big showdown is going to happen between all of these different characters, good versus evil, who's going to win. But one thing I do like is that Veridus finally woke up. The cobwebs were cleared from his eyes, and he saw the truth of what Nathir was doing. So I'm excited to see how Veridus plays a role in the plot of this book, which I think he should have been doing the whole time. John Gwynne's books are pretty dense. They do take me a while to get through. I think the audiobook's like 22, 23 hours long, so it is a book that I will slowly be reading throughout the month of February. And lastly, I would really like to finish the Skyward series by Brandon Sanderson by reading The Defiant, which is the last book. This is a YA space adventure story, and I've always recommended this series because even though it is marketed towards YA, I feel like adults could very much enjoy this series. In this book, we are following a main character named Spensa. She lives on a planet that was constantly being attacked by these enemy aliens known as the Krell, and Spensa's father was a fighter pilot, and one day he went missing and he's been labeled a deserter. So Spensa decides to take up his mantle and become a space fighter pilot, but she faces a lot of obstacles because people don't take her seriously, but she does achieve this as, you know, the books go on. And then the world just expands so much in books 2 and 3. And we learn that there is a lot of politics going on in this world, and that the Krell were actually attacking this planet for a specific reason that you wouldn't expect. We also have a lot of humor in this book, which Brandon does seem to incorporate. We have an AI ship known as M-Bot. We also have different alien species that seem menacing but aren't. And we also have a lot of political alliances among different alien species, some of whom you can trust, some who you can't. And then the 3rd book, we did learn a lot about the enemy in this book, this enemy alien species, and exactly what it is, how it works, what it's being used for. that I really found captivating and I think will play a lot into the last book. The stakes are really high at this point. I think if you're someone that enjoyed like Ender's Game, these books would definitely be for you, and I'm really, really excited to finally finish the series and see how all the mysteries of this universe are wrapped up. Okay, you guys, that is it for my February TBR. Hopefully I can get to all of these books, start and finish them. Let me know in the comments some books that you plan on reading in the month of February, or if you've read any of these books and what you thought about them. As always, thank you so much for watching. I will see you all in another video soon. Bye!